You know what's hilarious to me? I got to be honest. Every single time there is breaking news with one of my sports teams, the Knicks, the Giants, and the Yankees, I am nowhere near my phone. I am not on my phone. I'm not present scrolling social media every single time. I open my phone, not on it for, let's say 30 minutes to an hour, and I've got a million different texts. And today was no different. I opened my phone. Dexter Lawrence has requested a trade from the New York Giants. Something that I don't think it's crazy to say we've seen coming for a few years now. We've seen the frustrations. We've seen Dexter Lawrence smiling, grinning from ear to ear after Shane Bowen was fired. And you figured maybe the Giants have turned the page when it comes to their relationship with their best player, in my opinion. We have seen this frustration not only play out behind the scenes from what we've heard, but on the field as well. Dexter Lawrence has not been the same player since his dominant season a year ago. He was not the same player this year. So you could see the writing was on the wall. But then the Giants, they hired John Harbaugh. You see how depleted their depth is at defensive tackle. So you combine all these factors, and you'd think that the Giants and Dexter Lawrence would be able to at least slightly repair their relationship. And now, of course, we open our phones today. You get the alert that Dexter Lawrence has requested a trade from the Giants. If you're just joining now, I'm Bryce Gelman. My apologies. Every time that big news breaks for one of my teams, I am not on my phone. I was on a phone call with someone, working on something, some good stuff potentially coming down the line. And he mentioned to me, like, I had the AC people come into my apartment unannounced. Just I barge in, all of a sudden I hear them. And I hear that Dexter Lawrence has requested a trade. So here we are, talking about Dexter Lawrence, talking about the idea of them trading him for hopefully a massive haul. What we have heard, just 40 minutes after this news, about 35 minutes after this news has broken, according to Adam Schefter, according to a bunch of different sources, whoever else pushed this out, that Dexter Lawrence and the Giants have been looking to complete a contract that Dexter Lawrence feels he has earned. Assumably, a contract that would reset the defensive tackle market. And to be honest, he deserves it. He does. But there is a part of me that sees Dexter Lawrence as someone that is undeserving of a massive contract, a contract that is going to reset the market. Because you want to know why? Instead of going out and busting his ass last year, he wasn't nearly as good. And now you could put you could read the tea leaves. You could decode this message. And you could see there's a reason why Dexter Lawrence did not play up to his standards. And there's a reason why the Giants might have some hesitance towards signing him to a big contract. Hey, listen, if you're going to go out there and you're not going to play as hard because you want a bigger contract, we're going to pay you? That's what you want to pay him? That's what you want to make? I figured the Giants hired John Harbaugh. I'm assuming that there was at least some level of competency that entered the room when the Giants hired John Harbaugh with how they went about restructuring their entire corporate management structure. And that you'd think that Dexter Lawrence would see that and be like, you know what? I'm into this. I want to be a Giant. But it turns out, I guess we should have seen this coming, that Dexter Lawrence has not gotten a contract offer from the Giants that he feels like he deserves. And again, I think it's twofold. What is going on? Who is commenting? Yo, bro, are you on live? Name a character. I don't know. These must be bots. Thanks for your viewership. All right. I get lost. Is this pre-recorded? No, Shadow Gamer. Cool. No, why would it be pre-recorded? Dexter Lawrence just requested his trade 45 minutes ago. So the Giants, unfortunately, have not been able to, in Dexter Lawrence's eyes, meet what he thinks he deserves. Now, if you're the New York Giants, do you do this? Do you do this? If we look at recent history with guys in the NFL who have held out, Trey Hendrickson being one, Myles Garrett being another, and you look at both of those situations, they both had different endings. Trey Hendrickson, older, obviously less dominant than Myles Garrett, doesn't end up getting his contract. He gets tagged, plays out one more year, doesn't get the contract that he wanted with the Bengals. They decided, we're going to be idiots. We're going to pay T. Higgins instead of an elite edge rusher. Saw how that turned out this past year. Myles Garrett, another story. Potentially the most dominant player in football. Definitely the most dominant defensive force in the sport. He requested a trade, or said, gave his he's like, all right, this team sucks. I want to get traded. What are we doing here? And they ended up coming back and giving him a bag. They paid him like he deserved to get paid. Now the Giants are in a similar spot. The Giants are in a very similar spot here because they have one of the best defensive players in football. When he's actually trying, when he wants to be on the field, when he wants to give it his all, Dexter Lawrence is one of the best players in the NFL. I have been on this for a very long time. Of course, he maybe looked terrible this past year. But the Giants are a much worse team with Dexter Lawrence off the field versus with him on it. And you can understand why. It's both a testament to how good he is on the defensive line and to how terrible the Giants' depth is at the position. So you open your phone as a Giants fan, you see this news, not very encouraging. Not very encouraging. So now the Giants, have this decision to make. The draft is in 2.5 weeks. They have to make a decision. Do we want to go out of our way to try to acquire a defensive tackle? The Giants should not accept a trade for Dexter Lawrence unless they are acquiring 2 first-round picks, especially if it's from a team that is trying to compete. Maybe 2 first and a second. That's how good of a player he is. The issue with the NFL draft and the issue with going out and trading for a guy, bro, all right, yeah, we're getting timeout. When you are looking at an established football player, you'd rather have him over an NFL draft pick, right? You're throwing a dart at a board. All right, well, drop some comments down below. I'll read them as we go, as this live stream. 2 firsts is not happening, so kind of moot. All right, you don't trade him. It's that simple. You hold on to him. You see what happens. If you're going to pay him, you pay him. The level of player that he is, at his best, he is a game wrecker. He is a game changer. If they can't get 2 first-round picks, or at least a first and a couple of seconds and more, you don't trade him. You don't trade him. Or maybe you make a trade like the Cowboys made when they traded Micah Parsons. Or you get a guy in Clark who could come in and revamp a portion of your defense that you so desperately needed. If I'm looking at this from a need perspective, the Giants wanted to get a first-round pick and potentially more. They need to acquire a corner. They need to acquire a corner and get up at a spot in the draft they know they can acquire someone they really like on the defensive line, particularly at defensive tackle. And I don't know if there's a guy that high up in the draft that they'd be willing to take. There are a few options at the board at the 5th overall pick. How many of those guys are defensive tackles? Not many. Not many. Waddle, what? An undersized wide receiver who hasn't been the healthiest player That's who you're equate. Okay, so now your comment about them not getting 2 first-round picks, that's a moot point. If you're coming out here and saying that the value for Jalen Waddle is going to be similar for what the Giants are going to get for Dexter Lawrence, come on. That's never happening. Never happening. Giants aren't that stupid. How's his contract? He doesn't have a contract. He doesn't have a contract. So if another team really wants him, then they'd be willing to part with those assets. And if they're not, you hold on to him and you see what you have. And you give yourself some time to figure it out, to see what you have. This Giants team, for the first time in a very long time, has realistic expectations of being a playoff team. And a huge factor in all of that is Dexter Lawrence. He has now asked out. If you're just joining now, this is what I'm talking about. You can see the title. You understand it's the biggest news of the day. Quite frankly, the biggest news of this Giants offseason since they hired John Harbaugh. In terms of magnitude. In terms of the effect that he can have on this upcoming season. It's the biggest news since John Harbaugh was signed and hired as the next Giants head coach. So what do the Giants do? What does John Harbaugh, what does Joe Schoen do? What do they do? There are multiple different ways that we can look at this. We could dissect it in a way that, lends itself to, a conversation about depth, about potential for this team. We can also discuss it based off the timeline that the Giants are in right now. And I think that that's the more important way to approach this. The Giants have Jackson Dart on a rookie scale deal for another 4 years. 3 more years, and then they're going to give the team option. God forbid, hopefully, he continues to grow and he looks like he did last year, and, he learns how to, get down and not get hurt all the time. The Giants have that contract that teams, it's very sought after by teams. You draft, there are very few things in the NFL that lend itself to success like drafting a pro-ready quarterback on a rookie level deal for 5 years. We've seen a lot of success from teams who have been like that. Patrick Mahomes being one of them, Jalen Hurts, who sucks, but no matter how you want to look at it, they drafted him. He was on a rookie scale deal and they won the Super Bowl. The Giants have Jackson Dart on this team-friendly deal. They have the cap flexibility. They don't have that many guys to pay yet. Answer me this. Would you rather pay Dexter Lawrence a record sum of money, or would you rather pay Kayvon Thibodeau slightly below market value? I know who I'm taking. Based off the current outlook of this roster, that's the most important way to approach this. What does their depth look like? What are the expectations for this season? We have to weigh the pros and cons of a potential Dexter Lawrence trade. First, you look at that. Second off, if you decide that trading him is the best possible route, you look at what you can get for him. That's very important. Guana Beast eats tofu. I don't know what your username means. He has a 3-year deal at a cap hit of 26, so a trade also requires a contract making him less valued. I really don't know how much less valued it makes him. I really don't. The Giants could make that work. They can get a pro-level guy back and a first-round pick. They need a defensive tackle. They need one. They have no depth, zero. No run stoppers on this team. Their second defensive tackle position is arguably their biggest need. That's what, after they signed Tremaine Edmonds, they brought back Micah McFadden. Are you excited about that linebacker room? No. But can it be competent? Yes. In terms of your second defensive tackle, Darius Alexander, he showed some promise. A few sacks in big games this year. Is he known as a run stopper? No. He's not. There's a reason why even, the terrorist Shane Bowen didn't trust him at all in obvious run scenarios. Dexter Lawrence is off the field in the one first snap from scrimmage in the Lions game. Jahmyr Gibbs goes for a 75-yard touchdown or whatever the hell it was. So do you expect this defensive front to be able to defend the run at all? I don't. Trading Dexter Lawrence away, again, in my opinion, at his best, is a top 5 defensive player in football. We are heavily underrating this guy because of how he has played under an incompetent defensive coordinator and in this circumstance of not getting paid what he thinks he should be paid. So you have to take all that into account. The fact that his value is not high right now, at least where it should be. So that is where we are at. On April 6, 2026, Dexter Lawrence has requested a trade. Now, did the Giants trade him? That is the biggest question. That is what we need to sit here and consider. Yes, it just happened. He just requested a trade. What the hell are we going to, we going to continue to react to it? It happened. All right, it's done. He's requested a trade. Can he walk back those comments? Can the Giants offer him what he thinks he deserves? Fine. Is this a leverage pay? Maybe. Shit could happen. Anything could happen over these next 3 weeks, but those are the most crucial weeks before the draft because of the current expectations. You bring in John Harbaugh. You saw what we saw from Jackson Dart last year. Competency. The idea that this guy could become someone that we want him to be, someone that we wanted for years since Eli Manning, a good quarterback. And you're going to have that guy in a rookie scale deal for 4 more years. And now your best player, arguably, top 2 player on this team, Andrew Thomas, and I think Dexter Lawrence are the 2 best players. I think Dexter Lawrence is better than Brian Burns. Attitude and demeanor not included. I know that plays a pure talent standpoint. Now you're going to trade away one of your top 2 players in this window. You're not going to pay the guy. And yes, I'm acknowledging that there might be a factor at hand here. The Giants don't want to pay a guy who they know, and this is hypothetical, it could be complete conjecture, but behind the scenes, he might not be trying as hard because he wanted this contract. It's not a good look. I don't know how smart of a strategy that is from Dexter Lawrence, if that is indeed true. You're not going out there and giving it your all because you want a contract. And this is something that I've heard behind the scenes. It has. Before he requested the trade. And now doing this and doing so, this doesn't shock me at all. It's frustrating. It's disappointing. You would obviously hope that John Harbaugh getting hired as the next head coach would change that. But there are clear issues at hand. There is clearly a gap in these negotiations between the Giants front office and Dexter Lawrence, hence why we are seeing this. And I think there's part of Dexter Lawrence, and I think this also contributed to what we saw on the field of him just not trying as hard. I don't want to hear about the injuries. Like, that wasn't the case. There's a part of it that, we could look at. Dexter Lawrence. When it comes to him not trying as hard. As it being a testament to how he felt about the organization for years. To the losing. To the incompetence. So, Tanvir says this is crazy. So wondering what was wrong with him last year. And this is, you can tell there was something up with that. There was something up with his body language. You could definitely see it in his post-game press. Yeah, 100%. This is not a new thing, too. This is now going on a few years. All right, I want to keep this short. check out my short form content on TikTok and Instagram Reels and focus more on that instead of these, long form stuff. Unless, you tune into One Giant Step or my other podcast, Knicks for Clicks. That's the long form content you'll get. But when news like this breaks, you got to come on here. It's unfortunate that I was on my phone when it happened. Otherwise, I could have went longer here. But stay tuned. My social medias, I'm going to put out a reaction post right now. And One Giant Step, we are going to record. Confirmed it with Sean Morash. We're going to record it later. Stay tuned for that as well. But until then, thanks everyone for tuning in. Unfortunate news. Hopefully the Giants say F you to Dexter Lawrence. And hopefully we get more of a sense of what the value is out there for Dexter Lawrence. All right, everyone. See ya.